Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba, bum, ba-dum, dun, 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 bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum, dun, 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 da 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 bum ba da 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 da. Hi. Dun 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 dun. Hello, my friends, my mighties, my Facebook friends. Good evening. Wonderful to see you all. I see you. Hello from Independence, Missouri. Harry from PA. Hi, Joette. Hi, Perry. Hi, Mighties. Hi, Buster. Hello from Central Wisconsin and Grand Rapids. And you go. You go. Climbing the mountains. Love it. Love it. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern time to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to study, learn, share homeopathy. So that, a couple of things, so that you know better how to treat yourself and your families, and so that we can change the world. Tall order, isn't it? But I believe the world is changing, and in a way kind of for us. I'm seeing a response to homeopathy in the past 2 years like I have never seen before. We have more people joining our study groups than we ever imagined in our wildest dreams. We have put up our academy in the last year, and we have a student body that would knock our socks off just a few years ago, and now we've started our second year, and we've also have a very large student body, well over 100. Last year it was nearly 300. And it's very exciting because people are interested. And you know why? Because the jig is up. The world is changing indeed, isn't it, Reshna? There's no doubt about it. The jig is up. People are catching on. They realize that a lot of the stuff that we're told, most of the stuff that we're told by big government, big industry, big pharma has been garbage. And so now people are looking for the real thing, the stuff that really makes the difference. This is the medicine that when you went to your doctor because you had a urinary tract infection, or you had a conjunctivitis or otitis media or strep throat, this is what you thought you were getting because you thought you were going to be cured. But unfortunately, what happens is that we don't get a cure, we get an antibiotic, and antibiotics need to be used over and over and over and over until we finally have food intolerances. And we have irritable bowel syndrome, or we have fuzzy head, or we have depression, because the gut and the head are very closely related. And so this is the medicine we all thought we all thought we were going to be cured. Oh, nay, nay. That's not so. And then all the deaths. You're absolutely right, Melissa. People are catching on, and it's catching on quickly. There are some really good people out there getting more and more information out. They're sticking their necks out. And I was just talking to someone today, and she was telling me about a site that her relative was watching in order to get good virological information. And I said, you always have to look at who's paying for that site. It's those people on the social media sites such as Rumble and Getter and etc. that are not getting paid and are sticking their necks out. or barely getting paid. They don't have a big industry behind them. There's no big pharmaceutical industry behind me. Trust me. In fact, if there was, I would still say no thank you, because I don't like that paradigm. I want to teach because I want you to know. I want to teach so that maybe you kindle the interest in your learning more, so that you and your family can be independent of not just disease and drugs, but fear. I want you to be independent of fear. I want you not to suffer the angst that unfortunately a good part of the world who's following those methods, those leaders, have. It's amazing how frightened many people still are, because they don't realize that we've not been given the truth. So today, since it's summer, let's talk about heat stroke and heat exhaustion, shall we? Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water. Hello from Toronto. Hi, Toronto. Let's see some things change in Ontario, huh? And in Canada in general. That would be really great. Those truckers made quite the splash, didn't they? We need more of that. A lot more of that. And I hope that everyone is not sitting back. I hope that you're actively teaching others how to use homeopathy, how to go to my blog and simply go look. If somebody has a problem, say, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you might want to check this out because it's free. It's really easy. It's free. You just put in the name of the condition and my name, and there it is. So you can also go to Joette's Learning Center. Now I'm going to show you something. I normally don't talk about this course or this book, but this is my survivalist guide to homeopathy. It's very heavy, as you can see, and it also has videos and materia medica in the back, and it's all broken down into subcategories. And it is for surviving extreme situations, the kind of information that you won't readily get on the internet. And I'm going to source it. I'm going to look at it today and use that as my prototype of how we're going to address this problem of heat stroke and heat exhaustion. And if you happen to have the survivalist guide, it's on page 153 is where we start. Is heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and hypothermia. And I've energy protocols, etc. Now, I'm going to tell you that my first remedy, whenever we think of heat stroke, heat exhaustion, etc., because we don't know, is it stroke, is it exhaustion, especially at the onset. We just don't know what it is we're looking at. We just know that someone has been made very ill by the heat. So I love the first medicine, which is one of our very first medicines for any kind of stroke or any kind of event that is quick onset, and it is aconitum. And I always use aconitum at a 200. I don't use it in a liquid mother tincture. Ever, ever, ever. Never. I never use that. And one should not do that. So what we're going to use is aconitum 200C. If all you have is X, that would work nicely as well. And we use it every 15 minutes when it is a heat stroke. Now, if it's not a heat stroke and the person is just out of sorts, you're not sure exactly what it is, then by all means, you can use it a little less frequently. But every 15 minutes, particularly for the first hour, is a very, very good way to handle this. Aconitum napellus, or sometimes called aconite, just plain old aconite or aconitum napellus. Both ways of naming it are correct. So someone's saying, yes, aconite. What about belladonna? Oh, you bet. Belladonna's big there. Absolutely. Belladonna is a very good medicine also for heat stroke, heat exhaustion, etc. It's for also sudden onset. So aconitum and belladonna are both remedies we think of for sudden onset, which means that 1 minute they're fine and the next minute they're going, uh-oh, something is really wrong here. With belladonna, there's usually redness and often pain. What kind of pain? It's usually pretty extreme pain, my friends. I'm going to read it to you. I like to use belladonna 30 for sudden onset, hot, red face, dry skin, throbbing, pulsing headache. That is belladonna, whether it's from a heat exhaustion or heat stroke or not. Anytime we see a headache like that, we're going to think of belladonna. I'll read it again. It's from throbbing, pulsing headache, glassy, red, red, bloodshot eyes, dilated pupils. So you can see you don't have to have all of these conditions all lined up. These are keynotes. And so when you hear a keynote, I want you to remember that that's just a guidepost. It doesn't mean you have to have all of them, but if you have a few of them, 3 maybe, that could really be an indication that we're on to the right medicine. Hot head, cold body. So that's an unusual thing. When we see something that's a little unusual, then we say to ourselves, that is unusual enough to make me think of this medicine. Delirium, drowsiness. Now it's interesting because belladonna is also a great medicine for fevers. This person could have a fever, but let's say it's a child. It has nothing to do with heat. Or, they're just getting a fever. They're just sick with a fever. It has nothing to do with being out in the summer sun or anything like that. Belladonna is a great medicine for a high fever where there is a cold body and hot head, dilated pupils, bloodshot eyes. These are the characteristics of this medicine. So we're going to get the characteristics of this medicine, belladonna, and we're going to lay it on top of the condition we're looking at now. So belladonna looks like this, whether it's a fever for a child, a high fever like 104, 105, or whether or not it is a severe headache for someone having nothing to do with the sun or the heat, or it has something to do with right now what we're looking at. And we're going to overlay what it is we're looking at now and what the other characteristics or keynotes of this medicine are. And I'm giving you the keynotes. Again, they needn't all be there. In fact, it would be very unlikely that they would all be there in one person. There's drowsiness, there's buzzing in the ears, extremely deep sleep, twitching. There's a blank stare. So if you see a blank stare, now we're looking at someone who's not just a little hot. We're talking about someone who's really gone into something more extreme, like a stroke. Constricted chest, loss of consciousness, of course. Now we're talking about. So this is the medicine that we give on the way to the hospital or the clinic, right? And how often do we use it? Every 15 minutes. And what potency? 30 would work, 200 would work. I think any potency, I think, would work nicely. And we also, the person is very sensitive. Something's on my face tonight, excuse me. The person is very sensitive to being jarred. So if they're on the bed and you sit down on the bed next to them and it's too extreme. From light, from noise, from sound, from smells, they're sensitive. They're neurologically sensitive. And let's see if we've got anything else that I want to say here. Oh, they're better from bending the head backwards. So they may be laying on the bed and bending the head backwards. Belladonna, belladonna, meaning beautiful lady. Belladonna, beautiful medicine. In its gross form, it's poisonous, just like aconitum. In its gross form, it's poisonous. In its homeopathic form, now we've diluted and diluted and diluted and diluted. And as we dilute, the toxicity drops down and the curative action comes to the fore. Because every plant, every substance on this earth has a medicinal ability. But we can't always use these substances as they are grown or as we find them on our earth. They have to be diluted. You harness the poisons. Yes, Leon, that's a good way of putting it. So what we're going to do is dilute, dilute, dilute. We're not doing it, of course. This is done in homeopathic pharmacy. And this is diluted, 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 and up comes the curative aspect as the dilution. It is a beautiful symphony of pharmacology, botany, mathematics, medicine. It is a symphony of using what we might not otherwise be able to use, but we can by knowing how to dilute. And again, this is not for you to dilute. This is for the pharmacy to dilute, and they do it beautifully. So make sure you're buying American, my friends. You're buying American remedies from American pharmacies. I also like Helios. They're in England. But other than that, stay American, please. They follow stricter rules more often than not. Okay, so somebody said glonoinum or glonoin. You could say glonoinum or just abbreviated glonoin. And that's for sunstroke, and it's for a headache as well. Now I've got that further on. This is for the person whose eyes are glazed over with a blank, fixed look and contracted pupils. Not unlike belladonna, right? Not unlike that. Cold sweats, cold body with a hot head, racing or barely perceptible pulse. Exhaustion is so severe that speech is impossible. See, these are the kinds of things that we're looking to differentiate from between one medicine and another. Would it be horrible if you weren't sure and you gave belladonna 30th potency and you didn't see a change after, say, 4 doses, 1 dose every 15 minutes? Ainsworth was okay too. Thompson's in Canada too. Yes, those are good. Those are good pharmacies as well. Would it be a bad thing if we were to use belladonna and then go on to use glonoinum because we thought that maybe it wasn't such a good choice? No problem. No problem. This medicine is pretty forgiving. We don't want to be sloppy in our choice, but we do want to make sure that we are getting to the crux of the problem. So let's get back to glonoinum: hot head, racing or barely perceptible pulse, exhaustion so severe that speech is impossible, bursting or throbbing pains in the head and body there are dark floaters in the vision, clenched jaw, pale face. Now you're thinking, how am I going to write all this down? Well, you don't have to. You get out your materia medica, my friends, and you look up the medicines. Once I give you, this is for heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and you know these top medicines, you have them written down somewhere. Hopefully you've got a book going. Then you get your materia medica and you read up on each so that you can differentiate. Okay, I was hiking in the mountains of North Carolina. Just took it prophylactically for mosquitoes. Oh, this must be for something else. I think it's for Staphylococcus aureus. Yes, it is. No bugs liked me, nor the bees. All right, so we can use glonoinum in a 30 or a 200. And if you look in my book on page 155 in the Survivalist Guide, you'll also see aconitum in a 30C. And I prefer aconitum when we know when we have a case where it is pretty severe. I would go with the 200. And you could use the 30, but I would use the 200. Now we also have lachesis. Lachesis is a great medicine. And lachesis is more often a medicine for women, but it can also be an excellent remedy for anyone who's had heat stroke or heat exhaustion. And that is when someone gets a heat headache or a headache from the sun, especially. So it's more often a problem with the sun than it is with the heat. Can be the heat as well, but lachesis is very related to the sun. So if the person has been overexposed to the sun and they get a headache, even if that's something they've had in the past, in fact, even more so if they've had it in the past, then this is going to be a great medicine for them. Now let's look at another one. Let's see if anyone's thought of any others than the one I'm thinking of. Let's see. Let me scroll down a bit. Kentucky, people are talking about where they're coming from. It's great. here in California. We're proud of the truckers and proud they've inspired the farmers in Europe. I know that's exactly what's happened. It is a worldwide movement, isn't it? And we're part of it. Survivalist Guide helped me June 2nd for my husband's heat stroke. Thank you, Joette. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm very happy to hear that. Jalen, thank you for saying. Let's see. Yes, went to their site. Let's see. We're talking about a site. Anyone know how long it takes to receive the Survivalist Guide after ordering? You know what? You ordered it back in May 2022 and you still don't have it. I'm very sorry to hear that. Please call my office. It shouldn't be that long. I know that we're behind, but we're not that far behind. All righty. Let's see. What else do we have? Chronic effects of sunstroke. Chronic effects. Let's talk about chronic effects. What we're looking at is what is presenting. The person has got headaches. The person is dazed. The person is red-faced. The person is anxious. We're always going to look at what is presenting, almost regardless of the etiology. So if you see someone who has had a headache ever since sunstroke and or sun exposure, over sun exposure, and it's a woman, you might want to think of lachesis. There's a little bit more to it than that, but I'm kind of shooting from the hip and getting it making it super simple. Glenoidum is special order here. Peloton is always in stock. It's wild, isn't it? Yes, seizures too. These remedies can be used for seizures. Absolutely. You have got it. Nux vomica for too much. Nux vomica is only for too much when it's too much artificial. Not too much sun necessarily. I mean, could it be? I suppose it's possible. But generally, we think of nux vomica as too much artificial. Too much artificial food. Too much alcohol. Too many cigarettes, cigars. Staying up too late. Too much in the head, working too hard. It's not, don't think of, that's too broad to think of nux vomica as too much sun, too much heat. That's not where we're going here. Nux vomica is very specific with artificial or overindulgence in things that are not natural. Too much dessert, too much fatty foods. Although, to be honest, I love fatty foods and I find them to be really nourishing for me. So depends on what kind of fat we're talking about, doesn't it? Too much wine, women, and song, nux vomica. So nux vomica has more to do with almost a debaucherous life, a life that's more modern living rather than what you would find happening to, let's say, an old-time pharma. Too much pharma. Yeah, too much pharma, too many drugs. Absolutely. That's nux vomica. Absolutely. Someone who's just come out of surgery and had a lot of drugs. Too much of the antithetical to what's good for us in our lives. Yes. Let's see what else we've got here. I love to hear what people are saying. Lacus is 200 for heat stroke. Yes. Yes, my friends, Lacus is 200 for heat stroke, but it's not my first choice. My first choice for heat stroke is going to be pretty much aconitum or belladonna in potency. Aconitum in potency, which means 30 or 200 is my favorite. Let's see. Carbo-veg for heat stroke. Oh, yes, I suppose, yes. I'm helping someone who got heat stroke. Not, let's see, 20 years ago and could not go in the sun at all. Now can go in the sun for a short time. Yes, thanks to Nat Carb. Very interesting. Yes, that could very well be. Yes. It's not the only one. Sol, S-O-L, is another medicine. Nat Muir can also help with that. There we go. Alice is spelling lachesis for us. Thank you very much. What about feeling ill from heat, but not a full-on heat stroke? What about building heat tolerance? Yes, my friends, these are all good medicines for that. And you want to choose one that is most closely related. If the person has difficulty being in the sun, they feel ill because they have headaches. Now we're going to look at the headache remedies, such as glenoidum or lachesis. If that's more a faint or dizzy feeling, we might think more like aconitum. I was reading Argentum nitricum for overeating sweets. Argentum nitricum is a remedy that is very specific for people who have a craving for sweets that's over the top, way over the top. I've written about it. And let's see. Bioplasma in water and bottle. Thank you very much, Oshana. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I often use bioplasma for dehydration. So I've got a recipe here that's right here in my book, but I've also written about it on my blog. And I'll just tell you, it's bioplasma, which is all 12 cell salts mixed together with acidophilus, a little bit of acidophilus bifidus, such as yogurt, a tablespoon or so of that, or quarter cup. And I put fresh lemon or lime juice in it. I often add something sweet like raw honey is my favorite choice, but we could also use maple syrup. I also add salt for electrolytes and then some coconut milk. And I put it all in water and have someone who is dehydrated drink that. When we're dehydrated, everyone thinks just water, 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 and they're right, but I think we also need the electrolytes, and that is included in the bioplasma as well as in the salt and some of these other ingredients. So think salt water when someone has had, when they are dehydrated. Yes, Argentum nitricum is good for sweet addictions. Yes, it is. Joette, when would you use a potency cord as mentioned in Yasker's? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what example you're giving me. If you can bring it up now before we end, I'll be happy to answer. It's hard to find now since Highlands got bought out. Highlands got bought out. And they still sell the cell salts, my friends, but there's not a single word that says homeopathy. Nowhere in sight on their site. Nowhere in sight in the pamphlet. My husband and I were just studying it just last night, as a matter of fact. Yes, I buy Highlands regularly for my shop. Yes, they are available. It's very disappointing that they're not calling it homeopathy. I understand that it's been bought by a person or a company that supplies supplements, and it could be the reason. It's going to confuse the heck out of people. People are going to start thinking that cell salts are supplements, and they're really, well, it's arguable, isn't it? Some people say that they are. Some people say that they aren't. Yes, on the salt from a farmer's wife. Yes, thank you very much, Teddy. Joette, do you feel okay today? You seem tired. Thank you. I am. I really am. I am very tired. I'm surprised you picked up on that. I didn't think I was. I thought I was projecting something a little more peppy than the way I was feeling. No, I am very tired today. Yes. No, I'm not saying that Highlands is not trustworthy. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just disappointed that they've taken it over and have not called it homeopathy. We love our word. Potency cord on page 270 in Yasker's. I'm sorry, Terry, I don't have time to look it up right now. And could it be? No, Highland, says Rebecca. Are you talking about using several medicines simultaneously? That could be what you're talking about, and calling it a chord, like a musical chord. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I saw that first thing. You're so sweet, Harry. But I think we're all very tired too. Whole family is exhausted today. Yeah. Any other place to buy bioplasma? Well, sometimes it's not called bioplasma. Sometimes it's just called 12 cell salts, or it's called the they've come up with a couple different names. Anybody know where we are with that? names for bioplasma. Well, it's all 12 tissue salts. Another company in the US that sells a combo cell salt is Metanatura. They label it as Schussler cell salts. Now, I don't know that company. I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar. It's my Portuguese side that picked up on that. Hugs, Linda. Some of our products based on traditional homeopathic practice have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease from Highlands. Well, of course they're not going to be evaluated. Since when does the FDA evaluate? Yeah, well, it leads people to think that the FDA evaluates medicines. I buy bioplasma from sites like Vitacost. Yeah, Vitacost is good. There's nice prices. Dana Ullman's site has it. Yes. Buy from Dana Ullman. I think that's a great idea. Yes. We want to support homeopaths. We want to support homeopathy, and we want to support homeopaths. Okay, my friends, I think we did it. Yes. Let's go for it. Let's go out into the sun and let's go out into the world and make a difference. If you're interested in courses, any of my courses, you simply go to Joette's Learning Center, no apostrophe, just Joette's, Joettes, without an apostrophe, Learning Center on my site, or go anywhere with that, just in your browser, and you will find courses and study groups, etc. And I hope that you consider joining study groups. That's where we meet like minds and actually see each other, and they become lifelong friends. So yes, thank you for being here. Bountiful blessings. Thank you, Melissa. God bless all of you. Mwah! Good night. Bye now.